Welcome to this Canary Island edition of Burning Earth Radio. This is your host, Gerard Spring, coming to you from the island of La Gomera. So we've had some really interesting weather down here in the Canary Islands over the past couple of days. And in particular, some very strong storms have arisen off of the Atlantic Ocean. And on the island of La Gomera, which is west of the island of Tenerife, there's been a lot of wind damage to some of the banana plantations, potato plantations, as well as avocado plantations as well. And the weather here is typically very mild and is dominated by the winds coming from the north or the northeast, known as the Canary Current. And during these storms, however, the wind directions have changed, and we have very strong winds associated with low pressure coming from the southwest. And these winds have been upwards of 60 kilometers an hour, 70 kilometers an hour, and sometimes 80 kilometers an hour. And this has caused also, in addition to a lot of the crop damage I mentioned earlier, landslides as well have appeared, particularly on this island, because of the loose rock and volcanic processes creates a lot of rock which is easy to erode, which is causing these landslides all over certain parts of the island which contain large amounts of sedimentary rock. So zooming in here on the Canary Islands and taking a look at the Canary Current, we see that we have this large anticyclone which has developed over the North Atlantic Ocean. And this I'm showing this is from the 23rd of January. This is the typical configuration, showing these kind of gentle winds coming out of the northeast here, kind of blowing over the Canary Islands, giving them a nice cool current, and this high pressure system here known as the Azores High. So I want to swing over here and take a look at the alternative configuration that we saw here last night in the Canaries. And I've zoomed in here on the island of La Gomera, which is slightly west of Tenerife, and you can see that there's this low pressure center which is generating very strong winds now coming from the southwest. And it's almost as if the Canary Current has reversed direction, and these winds are essentially howling through the canyons here. And these westernmost islands, the island of El Hierro here, which you can barely see, the island of La Palma, as well as La Gomera, have been really hammered by these winds and these storms, so much that some of the municipalities here have actually declared the valleys a catastrophe zone. So it's very, very bad to have these types of storms. And if we zoom out here and take a look at the mean sea level pressure, we can see that the Azores High, which typically brings mild and calm winds to the Canaries, is somewhat displaced and a bit broken up. And it's been replaced by this low pressure center off of the west coast of Morocco here, and also off the coast of Portugal with Sagres Promontory here. So if we zoom out even further, for example, we can see that everything is a bit shifted around. We have this high pressure zone up here, and this anomalous low pressure zone down here off the west coast of Africa, which is bringing these types of winds to the Canary Islands. And then, of course, we have warming up here in the Arctic. So if we swing up here and take a look at what's going on in the Arctic, we have these low pressure centers over the Arctic, which is perhaps related to the very warm temperatures going on in the Arctic right now. In some cases, 20 degrees C, in some cases, 30 degrees C, especially over the Kara Sea region here. This warming is kind of redistributing these pressure zones, it looks like, and all the way down here in the subtropics, we're getting this anomalous low pressure center, which is creating these very anomalous winds down here in the Canaries. So it's very interesting to see these types of changes kind of propagating out of the Arctic and coming down here this far south. And it just shows that everything in the climate system is connected to everything else. And the anomalies associated with these types of low pressure zones. Welcome to this Canary Island edition of Burning Earth Radio.
For example, we saw
this is your host, Gerard Spring, coming to you
over
from the island of
just
La Gomera.
to the east of where
So we've had some really interesting weather down here,
which is
very, very in the past couple of days. In particular, some very strong storms have arisen
Very strange
off
behaviors.
the Atlantic Ocean.
So climate change is
on the island of La Gomera,
both the
which
local
is
phenomenon
west of the
and
island
a
of
global
Tenerife.
phenomenon. And I think it's
There's
really
been a lot of
important
wind
to take
damage
note of
to
these
some
kinds
of
of
the
changes
banana
as,
plantations,
the
potato
Arctic continues to heat
plantations,
up.
as well as avocado
So if you enjoyed this
plantations as
short
well.
edition on
And
the weather in the Canary
the
Islands, and
weather here is
the
typically very
anomalies
mild
going on down
and
here,
is dominated
please
by
like,
the
comment, and subscribe.
winds
And I'm
coming
looking
from
forward
the
to having
north
you along
or
in
the
the
next one.
northeast.
Thanks so much for
Known
listening.
as the Canary Current.
And during the